High in the mountains of South America stands a peak that once held the greatest treasure the world had ever seen. So much silver was pulled from this single mountain that it funded an empire, reshaped the global economy, and triggered an inflation that lasted 100 years. It was called Potosí, and its story reveals a terrifying truth that the same river of wealth which makes a nation rich can also quietly rot it from within. We left off with Mansa Musa, whose gold flooded a single city, proving that too much money, even real gold, destroys its own value. Now take that lesson and multiply it across continents. What happened with one king's caravan was about to happen to the entire world. Our story moves to the 16th century and the Spanish Empire. In their conquest of the Americas, the Spanish discovered silver on a scale never before imagined, and the crown jewel of it all was a mountain in what is now Bolivia, a mountain that appeared to be made of silver. The Spanish called it Cerro Rico, the rich hill, and they extracted its silver in staggering quantities, using the brutal forced labor of countless indigenous people and others, many of whom died in the punishing conditions of the mines. This wealth came at a horrifying human cost. For generations, Potosi produced a torrent of silver that flowed across the oceans into the treasury of Spain. On the surface, Spain had struck it impossibly rich. It became the most powerful empire on earth, its ships and armies funded by a seemingly endless supply of silver. But beneath the triumph, a slow poison spread. To understand it, we return to the iron law we have now seen again and again. When the quantity of money grows faster than the goods it can buy, each unit is worth less. Prices rise. This is inflation. Mansa Musa did it to Cairo with gold, by accident, in weeks. Spain did it to the whole world with silver. Over decades, so much silver poured out of Potosí that the value of silver itself began to fall. And as silver was money, its falling value meant one thing: prices everywhere began to climb. Historians call this the price revolution. Across the 16th and 17th centuries, the cost of goods rose steadily throughout Europe and beyond, a long, grinding wave of inflation, driven in large part by the flood of New World silver, slow by modern standards but relentless. A farmer in Spain, a merchant in England, a trader in the Ottoman lands, all felt their money slipping in value, and few understood why. This gave rise to one of the most important ideas in all of economics. Thinkers of the time noticed the connection. More money in circulation seemed to lead directly to higher prices. This insight became what we call the quantity theory of money, the principle that, all else being equal, the amount of money in an economy is tied to the level of prices. Double the money, and in time, you tend to double the prices, a foundational law of how money works. But the deepest irony of Potosi was what happened to Spain itself. You would think owning the greatest source of silver on earth would make a nation wealthy forever. The opposite occurred. Because Spain had so much silver, it did not need to build strong industries or develop its own farms and workshops. Why make things when you could simply buy them from other countries with your endless silver? So the silver flowed in one side of Spain and straight out the other into the hands of foreign merchants who actually produced goods. The inflation it caused made Spanish products too expensive to compete. Slowly, Spain's own economy hollowed out. The nation with the most money became, over time, one of the most indebted powers in Europe. Its treasure had made it weak. This pattern is so common that economists have a name for it: the resource curse. When a sudden flood of one kind of wealth, silver, gold, or oil, harms a nation in the long run by warping its economy and stunting everything else. Potosi was one of history's greatest lessons in this curse, a mountain of money that enriched an empire and quietly doomed it. And so the great monetary lesson of these centuries was complete and frightening. Money floods, again and again, from Rome to Mali to the whole world, each proving that money without discipline is dangerous. Coins could be debased, paper could be printed, even mountains of real silver could bring ruin. Amid all this chaos, humanity needed a tool, a system to bring order, honesty, and clarity to the tangled world of money and trade, a way to know precisely and truthfully what was owned and what was owed. And that tool was about to arrive, not from a king or a conqueror, but from a quiet monk with a book. The revolution that would finally bring order to money was one of accounting, and that is where we go next. If you are enjoying the journey, subscribe and turn on notifications. New episodes drop almost every day. Leave a like and jump into the comments.